Welcome to Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity, a playbook for living healthier and longer. I'm Josie. Along with being a certified personal trainer and longevity enthusiast, I am also a data and AI executive with 4 master's degrees, including one in AI from Johns Hopkins. In each episode, I'll share simple technology and AI-backed strategies with practical steps that you can use to build your own longevity roadmap. I'm not a doctor or medical professional, so be sure to check with your physician before trying anything we discuss on the show. What if one tool for steadier energy and a longer, healthier life wasn't something new, but something your grandparents already trusted? It sounds almost too simple, but sometimes ancestral wisdom and modern science tell the same story. In my family, Korean red ginseng, or hongsam, has always been a part of daily life. My parents take it, my grandparents take it, everyone does really. It's a quiet, consistent ritual. No ceremony, no dramatic claims, but just something you do because it's part of how you take care of yourself. And maybe that's not coincidence, but my grandparents are now in their 80s and 90s, still active and still sharp, and they've always credited ginseng as one element of their overall health approach. It's never been about energy in the short term, but about really keeping the body balanced for the long term. Growing up, I didn't think much about it. The little red boxes were just always there. But as I got older and started diving deeper into longevity science, recovery metrics, and biofeedback from wearables, I started to see something interesting. The way my grandparents describe how ginseng makes them feel, calmer, more focused, less tired, sounds exactly like what modern physiology describes as improved autonomic balance and stress regulation. That overlap between ancestral wisdom and modern data is what fascinates me. So in this episode, we're unpacking what the science actually says about Korean red ginseng, how it affects energy, recovery, and stress resilience, and what I discovered after tracking my own response using both wearable and 8-sleep data. Because this isn't caffeine or hype, and it's not a quick fix. It's something deeper, a calm, steady focus that feels like your body has finally found its rhythm again. And maybe, just maybe, the science is finally catching up to what my grandparents already knew. Most of us spend our days chasing energy in the morning, after lunch, before a workout. But what we really need isn't more stimulation, it's better regulation. Our bodies run on rhythm. When that rhythm breaks, when stress hormones like cortisol stay elevated and the nervous system leans too heavily on the fight or flight mode, everything downstream starts to drift out of balance. Recovery slows, focus dulls, and even metabolism becomes less efficient. And we start accepting that chronic stress response as our baseline. That's where Korean red ginseng offers something different. It's classified as an adaptogen, meaning it helps the body adapt to stress rather than overreact to it. In biological terms, it interacts with the HPA axis, the brain to adrenal network that manages stress hormones, and it nudges it back towards equilibrium. Over time, this can help smooth cortisol patterns and restore a healthier balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems, the gas pedal and brake of our biology. When that balance improves, you don't just feel calmer, your body becomes more efficient. Cells produce energy more cleanly, your cardiovascular system delivers oxygen more effectively, and your recovery from both physical and mental stress improves. Early research supports this. In control studies, adults taking red ginseng showed measurable reduction in fatigue scores and faster post-exercise recovery, while effects on aerobic capacity metrics like VO2 max has been inconsistent across studies. Users consistently do report improved exercise tolerance and reduced perceived effort during physical activity. These are subtle shifts, but they point to a route that helps your system work with itself, not against it. And in a world that constantly rewards urgency, coffee, deadlines, endless notifications, there's real value in something that promotes steady energy instead of more chaos. Because in longevity science, consistency often matters more than intensity, and the ability to sustain energy without draining your system may be one of the most underrated tools for extending both lifespan and health span. Korean red ginseng, or Panax ginseng, comes from a 6-year-old root that's steamed and dried. That red processing step isn't cosmetic. It actually transforms the chemistry of the root, converting natural saponins into more bioactive forms called ginsenosides. Ginsenosides are what makes red ginseng so unique. These compounds act as a biological modulator, influencing multiple systems at once, from immune balance to vascular function to cellular energy. Think of them as your body's signal calibrators, tuning dozens of small pathways so that they operate in sync rather than conflict. In controlled clinical trials, adults taking red ginseng daily for several weeks reported lower fatigue and higher mental clarity compared to placebo. Blood tests showed better antioxidant capacity and less oxidative stress, two strong markers for slower cellular aging. Research published in the Journal of Ginseng Research found that ginsenosides promote nitric oxide synthesis, which helps expand blood vessels and enhance oxygen delivery to tissues. This improved microcirculation can support both brain performance and endurance, which may explain why users often describe the effect as clean energy rather than stimulation. From a metabolic perspective, several ginsenosides, particularly RG1 and RG3, activate AMPK, an enzyme called the cell's energy sensor. AMPK helps your body switch from short-term energy burning to long-term efficiency. It supports mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new healthy mitochondria, similar to what happens during exercise or fasting. That's why red ginseng shows up in research on both athletic recovery and metabolic health. One double-blind study demonstrated that participants taking red ginseng had improved glucose control and reduced fasting blood sugar levels, suggesting a mild enhancement in insulin sensitivity. That's especially interesting in the context of longevity, since metabolic flexibility, the ability to efficiently use both glucose and fat for energy, is one of the strongest predictors of health span. On the neurological side, research, primarily conducted in animal models with emerging human studies, shows neuroprotective effects by increasing levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, the molecule that supports neuron growth and resilience. This could translate to better focus, mood stability, and possibly protection against age-related cognitive decline, though more human research is needed to confirm these effects. A 2020 systematic review in the Frontiers of Pharmacology analyzing randomized clinical trials concluded that red ginseng consistently reduced self-reported fatigue and improved mental performance, particularly in older adults and those under chronic stress. Interestingly, the study showed the greatest benefit of all used mature, traditionally cultivated roots, confirming that quality and processing are critical. The immune effects are equally fascinating, with research showing that it can modulate inflammatory cytokines, reducing excessive inflammation without suppressing immune function. That doesn't mean it boosts your immune system in the traditional sense, it helps it stay balanced. People who take it regularly often report fewer colds or faster recovery from illness, which aligns with those findings. There's also emerging evidence that red ginseng may support sleep quality. By helping normalize cortisol rhythm and calming the sympathetic nervous system, users report improvements in restorative sleep, supporting the body's natural cellular repair processes. And while most research examines subjective sleep quality rather than objective sleep architecture, the user experiences align consistently with what we'd expect from improved stress regulation. Across all these systems, energy, immunity, metabolism, and cognition, one theme repeats. Red ginseng helps your body regulate, not react. It's less about immediate effects and more about long-term stability. That doesn't mean it's magic. Not every study shows large effects, and results vary depending on extract quality and dose. Many cheaper products use young roots or low ginsenoside concentrations that simply don't deliver the same physiological changes. The best outcomes consistently come from standardized Korean extracts with at least 5% ginsenosides, like those produced by premium Korean brands that have led the industry's quality standards for more than a century. And of course, safety matters. Red ginseng is generally well tolerated, but people on blood pressure or anticoagulant medications should consult their physician. Excessive doses, above 2 grams per day, may cause jitteriness or digestive upset in sensitive individuals, even though that's rare. And when you zoom out, all of these findings point to a consistent story. Korean red ginseng supports homeostasis, the body's internal balance. It helps you maintain steady performance and recovery without overcorrection. For me, that's what makes this route so compelling. It bridges the intuitive wisdom my family's lived by for generations with the mechanism we can now measure: oxidative stress reduction, cortisol normalization, and mitochondrial efficiency. In other words, it's not just an old remedy that happens to align with modern science. It's a scientifically validated system of biological pacing that we're only beginning to understand. Korean ginseng, hongsam, like I've said, has always been a part of my background. But recently, I wanted to understand it on my own terms. I wasn't curious about tradition this time, I was curious about proof. So a few months ago, I ran a 6-week self-experiment. Every morning, I took 500 milligrams of 정관장, South Korea's most trusted red ginseng brand. Their roots are traditionally cultivated for optimal maturity and standardized to 5% ginsenosides. I didn't change anything else, not my nutrition, workouts, or supplements, just one new variable. That way, any change I noticed, good or bad, could be traced back to the ginseng itself. The first few weeks were unremarkable, no dramatic shifts, just life as usual. Then small changes started appearing. Fewer mid-afternoon crashes, steadier focus through long workdays, and less need for that second coffee. By week 5, I noticed deeper sleep, confirmed by my wearable and 8 sleep data, which showed more deep sleep on average, a mild rise in heart rate variability, and a slightly improved overnight temperature stability, all subtle signs of better autonomic balance. But the hard data stopped there. My HRV didn't move dramatically, and my readiness score looked about the same. Still, my health journal told a different story. When I read it back later, I noticed a clear pattern: more calm energy entries, fewer notes about fatigue, and consistently higher mood ratings. Something was happening just below the level of what my wearable could easily quantify. And that's the paradox of adaptogens like red ginseng. The shifts are subtle but cumulative. You don't feel amped up, you feel more regulated. So if you're curious, here's the framework that worked for me. Make sure you choose quality before you start. Look for authentic Korean red ginseng, ideally from verified Korean sources like 정관장 or other premium Korean brands. Mature, properly processed roots yield the most consistent results. Make sure you start low, about 400 to 600 milligrams daily in the morning before meals. Use it for 6 to 8 weeks, but then take a short break. The body responds best to modulation, not constant stimulation. Also, just from my personal experience, red ginseng seems to work best when layered with zone 2 cardio, sauna, or light strength work, anything that really reinforces that parasympathetic recovery. And that's really the story of Korean red ginseng: quiet, consistent optimization. Not stimulation, but synchronization. You don't really feel on it, you feel more in rhythm. And before we wrap up, a few myth busters. Myth 1. Ginseng gives you an instant energy boost. That's probably the most common misunderstanding, and the reason many people try it once, don't feel anything, and assume it doesn't work. Korean red ginseng isn't designed to push your energy up like caffeine. It works more quietly, helping your system regulate stress and restore balance. Those same studies that we mentioned earlier found that compounds called ginsenosides help stabilize the body's stress response, known as the HPA axis, and activate AMPK, which improves how cells produce and use energy. The result is steadier energy, not a spike. You're supposed to feel clear and calm, not amped. Myth 2. All ginseng is the same. Not true. Only Panax ginseng grown in Korea for optimal maturity and processed into red ginseng has the full ginsenoside spectrum responsible for these effects. Premium Korean brands maintain consistency precisely because they control cultivation and standardization across generations. Myth 3. More ginseng means more benefit. Another misconception is that doubling or tripling your dose will double your results. Studies show a clear plateau around 1 gram per day. Higher doses don't add benefits and may actually cause mild side effects like insomnia or digestive discomfort. Ginseng's strength lies in modulation, not intensity. It's about harmony, not volume. In a world obsessed with immediate results, red ginseng is the opposite story. Patient, cumulative, and deeply aligned with the biology of longevity. The best results aren't felt in a moment. They're seen in the quiet steadiness that builds across months and years. So here's what I keep coming back to. Korean red ginseng bridges two worlds perfectly. The ancient practice my family never questioned, and the modern research that's finally explaining why they were right all along. One story is generational. My grandparents' quiet morning ritual passed down without fanfare. The other is contemporary. Controlled trial, biomarkers, wearable data tracking autonomic balance in real time. Somewhere between those two stories is the truth. Longevity isn't built from extremes. It's built from balance, from a body that can respond, recover, and adapt gracefully. My grandparents in their 80s and 90s still take red ginseng every morning. My parents do too. None of them treat it as a miracle cure or the sole reason for their health. It's one element of their overall approach, part of a lifestyle that includes movement, community, purpose, and balance. And maybe that's part of why they stayed so active, so present, and so curious about life. And in the end, Korean red ginseng isn't about adding years for the sake of longevity. It's about improving the quality of those years, helping your body maintain rhythm through stress, time, and change. Thank you for spending your time with me today on Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity. If you found this episode helpful, please follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. Before we wrap up, a quick but important reminder. Adding Years is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Always consult your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen, supplements, or exercise routine. What you hear on this show reflects personal opinions, experiences, and not medical advice. I'm Josie, and this is Adding Years. Until next time, here's to living better, longer.